Hello again and welcome back to the John Christian Studio Sessions. Today we're going to start a completely new subject, and in this subject I really have to explain something because I compare a lot of things like layering, comparing to an orchestra, and in this episode I will tell you something about how I place the instruments in the stereo image, but I also try to create some depth. And that's why I call it landscaping. Like for instance, you are looking at a landscape and there's the violin, there's this, there's the synthesizer or whatever instruments you are having. But there are certain techniques to make a track wider but also deeper. So let's take it from here. So to make the clearest possible example of what I do with landscaping, I'm going to use drums because those are short instruments playing, and so you really can hear difference going on. So what I already have is the kick drum, of course. Then I'm going to just find in a regular library some loops and a clap and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's say we're going to use this one, and let's see another one. Something like that. Okay, sounds nice, but well, apart from the creative part, because I'm not the kind of person that's really using these loops, because what I would do is just cut out certain things and make new loops and whatever, but for this example this will work. But what you hear now is that really the focus of every instrument is exactly in the middle. But if I would add a vocal here or a lead sound or whatever, it's also in the middle. So in the middle section here there would be a fighting going on. So what I try to do is to create that landscape by moving things from left to right, but also from the front to the back. Well, how can you move a loop from the front to the back? If I use just this sound, what I would do is add a little reverb. And sometimes when I'm receiving projects from other producers, what I'm collabing with or whatever, the first thing that I'm seeing is that there are so many people who are so afraid of using reverb. But creating reverb or using reverb is creating space in your mix. Because I'm in this room and of course there's a lot of acoustic treatment here, but still there is room. So therefore there is a room preset to create a dry sound, sounding like if it's in that room or in a hall or in a tunnel or whatever kind of imaginable space that it's in. So there's one extra thing that we can have in let's say, let's use the lexicon for this. The vintage plate, that's one of my favorite, because when it's just opening, the preset is already nice. It's called the vocal plate, because it's bright and it's deep and also very wide. So I'm going to put a little reverb on this loop. So to me this sounds like if the loop is in a certain space. If you just compare it without using the reverb and with using the reverb, this is the change. So this is dry. And this is with the reverb. So it already starts to be a little bit wider, but this is still well, a very stable situation because the loop is really looping, of course, and the reverb is always the same. So if I want to create some attention for the reverb in the background, we have to create certain movement on that reverb. So what I can do here is to exaggerate with a tremolo. If you hear that on solo, you hear it's going from the left to the right, but it's too extreme now and too slow. So let's make it a little quicker and a little less deep. But still you can hear it's going from the left to the right. And now let's see what the result is. Now it's getting more attention because it's going from the left to right, and it's just happening in your brains that sounds that are moving are grabbing your attention. And that's specifically that psychological aspect here about creating a landscape. If you really want to have some depth, create something in the background what's moving. So you really are aware of that something is going on in the back of the production. Well, what I try to trigger here is that you are going to start to be creative on this, because you can do this with vocals, you can do this with everything. So this was one of my simple techniques to create some depth in the production, and of course you can do a lot more, but then you have to see the next episode for that. If you have any question about this chapter or maybe another, just go to my facebook.com/DJ John Christian and leave your comments there.